All right, and we are live. Welcome, DoorGrow hackers, to the DoorGrow show. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase revenue, help others, impact lives, and you are interested in growing your business and life, and you are open to doing things a little bit differently, then you are a DoorGrow hacker. DoorGrow hackers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not, because you realize that property management is the ultimate high trust gateway to real estate deals, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management businesses and their owners. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property managers win. I'm your host, property management growth hacker, Jason Hull, the founder of Open Potion, Gather Kudos, Thunder Local, and of course, DoorGrow. Now, let's get into the show. So I am here today with James, Barrett, and Calvin Davis. And you guys can introduce which one's which here to the audience watching. Say hi, James.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Cool. Say hi, Calvin.
Hello, I'm Calvin.
Everybody knows Calvin. If you've ever been to a NARPM show or any property management conference, you know Calvin already.
All right. And so you are both from Tenant Turner, a property management like tool and resource for helping people do what? Explain Tenant Turner. And then I'd love to get into the background with this or started this thing.
Yeah, I mean, in the most simplistic form, what Tenant Turner is going to do is help property managers manage their tenant leads and get them scheduled for in-person showing appointments, self-access viewings, and really help put that leasing process on autopilot. You kind of mentioned it in your opening, really try to cut the BS, and so many elements of the leasing process involve are very painful for the property manager. They get inundated with phone calls. Syndication is always a chore and a pain. Getting people to actually show up to their showings, and when they do, are they actually qualified to make it through the application process? And so the goal of Tenant Turner is help remove some of those burdens from the property manager and do it in a way that's elegant and simple for not just the property manager, but for their prospective tenant, and really just help them focus on higher value added activities like growing their business, adding new doors.
All right. So give us the background then. How did you both get connected? How did you get into creating Tenant Turner? How did this come about?
Yeah, so we started Tenant Turner kind of out of necessity. A couple of us all kind of manage or self-manage our own rental properties, and we had a background in IT consulting and IT sales and things of that nature. And the pain point was just that we would, have to put our properties on the market, and the best tool we had in the toolbox was, at the time was Postlets and Craigslist. And then, you're at work trying to focus on your day-to-day, and you get phone calls and you get emails. And by the time you get back to those people, they've already forgotten. And then you go ahead and you try to get them pre-qualified to a certain extent, and you never are able to identify those key things that help determine whether they're a good fit, good match for that particular property. And then you do finally get somebody scheduled, and you show up at the rental, and you're there by yourself because they left you hanging. And then people do show up there, and then you ask them questions. And when you ask them at the showing, it's as if people don't want to offend you. They don't want to tell you have an ugly baby, so they don't tell you actual feedback about the property.
Most babies are ugly.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sorry. I'm sorry.
But people don't want to. I need to know that you didn't want to rent this house because the carpet looked like crap, or I need to know that you think it's priced too high for this neighborhood. Not, oh yeah, it's nice, I'll put it in an application. All lies.
Right.
So but with software, we can figure these things out a little bit easier, and with Tenant Turner in particular, try to make it very conversational so people can open up about the process and provide their input on what they liked and what they didn't like about a particular property.
Love it. So I've heard nothing but really positive feedback about Tenant Turner. And so I've been dying to get you guys on the show because I feel like everybody needs to hear about you guys. But inside our DoorGrow Club Facebook group, shameless plug, you can check that out at doorgrowclub.com. Yeah, everybody's been talking about Tenant Turner. Like, you guys are like the go-to guys right now. So what is so special or different about what Tenant Turner is doing versus everybody else?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I get it every day. I talk to property managers across the country. What's the difference between you and this company and this company? And I tell everybody it's kind of my go-to. It's like Pepsi and Coca-Cola. There's a lot of different solutions out there that are going to get you where you want to go. We just take a different approach in doing it. We focus on people. We focus on simplicity. James hit it on the head a minute ago. I mean, you have to have a simple solution. There's so many different tools that property managers are using and so many different technologies, and the landscape is changing so quickly. Without an easy tool that you can log into and know what you're doing when you're doing it, it just adds to the noise. So we figured, let's make something simple, let's make something easy, and let's put great support behind it. There's not an element of business that doesn't involve people. If you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody, if you can write a note, write your question, and know that you have a good team on the other side that's going to get back to you in a timely manner, we've seen that be the difference in most cases. Just be there for your customers, build relationships, and be honest. I've directed people to other solutions before because it was a better fit for them. It doesn't benefit us to bring somebody on if it's not a good fit. We're looking to help the property manager. We're looking to help the end user, and that's what's helped us build the footprint that we have now.
I think that's the hallmark of every business that is best in its class. And that's something that we strive for here at DoorGrow too, is to have a very client-centric vision. Because if you have a client-centric vision first and foremost, then you're always going to be in alignment with what your audience really wants and what they really need, instead of just trying to sell them what you can sell them, right? Which is what a lot of businesses do. And I don't believe that that's the future of business, at least not healthy businesses. It's just selling stuff because you can get away with selling it, but selling the things that are actually going to serve and help your audience. And if you start a product from the ground up with how do we actually help our clients achieve what their goals are, then everything else in the business gets in a totally different alignment. And success just seems to kind of feel easy, doesn't it? Do you guys feel like it's been easier than you expected, or does it feel kind of difficult?
About 2 years ago, it wasn't. It may not have been as easy then as it is now.
Right.
I mean, I think I said it to James a while ago. It was a big challenge. But it was a good challenge. It was a challenge that we wanted and we looked for and we went after. And it did feel like for the first 18, 24 months, we were pushing a rock up a hill, but it got easier and easier. And now it's just rolling down the hill. I mean, we feel great about the partnerships we've created. We feel great about the clientele that we have. And we're really looking forward to 2018. I mean, it's a really exciting time.
Yeah, I think a big thing for us is like you kind of touched on, Jason, is having a customer-centric approach to everything that we do. For anybody who's met Calvin at a conference, he's not there to sell anybody anything. He's there to have a conversation and see if Tenant Turner could be a benefit to them. That's how we take every step of our process and are continually trying to improve it. So as we talk to customers, is that Larson in there? Yeah. So Brad Larson, he was one who had in his market had a unique need that wasn't something that our other customers had before. But in talking to him and understanding the San Antonio market and what it was going to take for Tenant Turner to be a huge benefit to his organization as well as that of other companies like his, we approach that, open ears. We look to the experts in the industry, let the customers help drive the future of what Tenant Turner is and is going to be.
Yeah, awesome. So I've heard lots of positive feedback about Tenant Turner. And so, so how do you guys decide who's a fit? Like, how do you know whether they're a fit or not for your business?
There's a couple easy things right off the top that I look for when I'm talking to somebody that hasn't been introduced to Tenant Turner before. And it really focuses on the mentality when it comes to showings and how leads are being passed around. And when you're in a round robin type lead environment where you've got agents and a brokerage, Tenant Turner is really not the best fit for you. You've got to take some manual approach and you've got to adjust some things here and there. And I would tell people that up front. And it was really surprising to me because I was almost afraid to do that at first because we were building new functions and new features and I wanted everybody to love Tenant Turner. But even then, at the end of the day, there were just some things that we didn't have that people needed. But what I found was, in being honest and transparent with people up front, they wanted to continue to have that conversation with you, and they were willing to try it, even though it wouldn't have been a perfect fit. So the round robin lead environment, a traditional brokerage with agents that don't focus on property management, that's something right off the top that I'd say, hey, that's a flag. Let's have a conversation about that. Let's see if a couple of these workarounds would work for you. And in some cases, that phone call that was originally scheduled for 30 minutes was 5 minutes. And in some cases, it went an hour long. So again, that's just a different approach. A lot of people, a lot of salespeople, if they identified up front that it wasn't a potential sale, that call would end really quickly. But I don't mind staying on the phone and telling somebody how another company has worked it into their process and what it's done for them. It's kind of fun. It's like problem solving each call you have.
Yeah, it's interesting. In our business at DoorGrow, one of the things that we realized even before it was DoorGrow, back when we were just operating as Open Potion, we realized that eventually I had this epiphany. I didn't want every client. And I started getting pickier about the clients that I take on. And so even with the services that we offer at DoorGrow, like, we make clients apply to work with us, which sounds a little ridiculous, but we make them jump through a bunch of hoops, which proves to us that they're going to also jump through the hoops necessary in our process. So we're basically vetting people. They have to go through this whole vetting process. And then after they go through that, we make them apply. And what's funny is we still sometimes get people that lie on the application, like, oh yeah, I watched the video and I reviewed the frequently asked questions, and you get on the phone with them and you're like, they're asking you all those questions. You're like, did you really watch well, I watched part of it, and there really are no shortcuts to success. Like, you have to do the work, you have to do the right things. And so we're really careful about bringing on the right clients, and that changes. People don't realize that. And this goes for everyone running a business, everybody listening to this. But if you aren't picky about who you bring on as clients, and you bring on everybody, your customer service level and your reputation are both going to be damaged significantly. And I think that has to be one of the strongest reasons why you have such a high, a high value reputation, is because of that qualification process, that you're willing to not take on every client. And it's scary. A lot of people are scared to not take on that business. They feel nothing's more creepy during sales than somebody being needy, right? And but
please,
yes, we're the best. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, and those are the people that have buyer's remorse, are the people that don't follow through, that don't commit, that don't follow your onboarding process properly. Yeah, so I think that's a critical distinction to make sure that I call our first call the fit call. Like, that's it. That's all we do. We just want to see if it's a fit, and we're not trying to sell them on anything. We just want to see if it's a fit, and if it's a fit, then we're going to get them to jump through the hoops and take them through our sales process. But otherwise, there's no point wasting that time on either side, right? All right, awesome. So Tenant Turner, what are some of the biggest, what are the most common questions that people are throwing at you, or the biggest concerns? And the first one that comes to my mind is they're wondering about their property management back office, because this is like the centerpiece of their whole business operationally. And they're wondering, like, how does Tenant Turner connect to this and not make my life twice as hard?
Yeah, I would say, the thing, I don't feel like we deal with it as much anymore, but, a couple of years ago in particular, people were hesitant to give up control over their tenant leads, because as annoying as they were and as much of a headache they would cause, it's the lifeblood of the leasing process. And so to hand that over to a software, you need to make sure that you trust the software is going to deliver everything and more that they're promising you that they're going to do. If I tell you that every lead that comes in via email is going to get an immediate response and multiple follow-ups, you need to believe that. And if you don't believe that, then being able to transition to that type of platform is not going to be an easy transition. I think, as our reputation is built, as adoption of this type of software has increased over the past couple of years, this type of software is becoming more of a necessity now. Whereas maybe just 3 to 5 years ago, it was almost more of a novelty. So I think the market is transitioning into, it's really just when do I plug Tenant Turner in? not if, it's when do we plug this type of software into our process? Because without it, we won't be able to focus on growing our doors. We won't be able to give our owners the attention that they need to retain them. So we have to be able to leverage this type of leasing automation.
All right, so that's a great question then. So what's the size that somebody can start with Tenant Turner? Do they have to have can they be a little 50-door company and get started with Tenant Turner? Or are you guys looking for the guys that only have 200 doors and up, or?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I always ask, what are some of the goals of the property management companies? I used to think when I had come into it and I was fresh, industry was new to me, that everybody wanted to grow. Everybody wanted to do doors. And that's not always the case. It is most of the time, but it's not always the case. Sometimes I'll find companies out there that are well established and they're good right at 100 doors. So I always ask, what are your goals? Do you want to be involved? Do you want to work on your business or work in your business, which is a tagline that I hear often now. And some people are absolutely okay working in their business and not on it. And I always ask, what are some of your goals? If your goals are to grow and you want to focus on building a sales plan and a business development opportunity pipeline, then outsource the lead management, because you're going to get the same question 9 times out of 10, and you're just going to have to go back and forth over email and phone calls to get somebody scheduled. Outsource it, let somebody else do it, and you focus on building that sales pipeline and building those responsibilities. But maybe it's just you want to streamline and become more efficient. Maybe you just don't like dealing with lead calls. Yeah. I didn't think I'd ever hear that before, but somebody said, it doesn't matter. I don't ever want to have to deal with another tenant lead phone call. It doesn't matter if it's $1 or $1,000, I'm not doing it. And they saw the value in outsourcing it. So it's so unique and so different. And every time I think I've got somebody pegged, I get the script flipped on me. So
I think one of the things that I've noticed, and maybe it is kind of this next wave of property managers, where a lot of them are starting from scratch and they're building tech into their processes without, a lot of companies we talk to that have 500 or 1,000 or 2,500 doors, they've been around for a while. It takes a while to get to that level. And so what they're doing is they have people and process and they're trying to improve it. But I feel like a lot of people that we get to sign up now, they have just a handful of doors, maybe even less than 10, but they're building these processes in day one. So that way they can focus on other activities that are going to help them achieve their goals and whatever those might be.
Yeah, very different mindset with some of those old school thinkers with these established companies that have been around 20 years. I can't tell you, and it's most of the time too, where I'll be on the phone, I'll hear some of the challenges and concerns and how Tenant Turner may be able to eliminate some of them. And it's almost like their mindset goes right back to, well, this is the way I've been doing it for 20 years. This is how I've gotten to where I am, so I'm not going to change it. And it's a very unique perspective, because you just identified challenges and you just told them to me, but then when a solution's presented, it doesn't matter how good that solution is. That's just how they are.
Yeah, it's interesting in business. Whatever got you to where you are now is not, it's going to be completely different things that are going to take you to where you want to be. And if you want to survive and thrive, you have to give up almost everything. So like those of us that have started business from the ground up, like myself, and you build up the business, you have to eventually give up doing everything that got you there. In order to build a team, in order to bring everybody else, like you have to give up doing, like your role changes like completely, like everything that you did. And that's hard. And a lot of business owners find that really painful. I think one of the most painful transitions any entrepreneur goes through is doing everything themselves to having a team. Like it's just because they have to change everything completely, and it's difficult to give that up. So, and it's interesting to see that. So basically the short answer to what you're saying is the people that are not a good fit for Tenant Turner are the people that don't want to grow and that want to just keep doing things the way they've always done it. Like they don't want to change.
Exactly. What you did there.
Okay. And they're probably not listening to this show, because if you're listening to the show, then there's probably a disconnect in the audience here, because we're all about growing your businesses. I mean, it's interesting that some people think growth is like a painful thing. They think growth is like a painful thing, like they're imagining that it's going to be worse in the future. But what I see is that there's this possibility that the business, as you grow and scale it, if you do it in the right way, your business and life become tactically easier. And you can do it because you can leverage and use more tools and resources. you can get Tenant Turner, you can get all the other bells and whistles and things to help offload and take more pressure noise away from you as an entrepreneur, so that you can have a better, less stressful, lower pressure noise lifestyle. So what are some of the changes that people are telling you about? Not just maybe dollar amounts, but what are they noticing different in their business after they are fully onboarded with Tenant Turner?
Well, I mean, I know you said not dollars, but I mean, Larson just mentioned a great one right there in the little chat. I mean,
so he's got savings like of money, cost savings.
And it's also a little bit more control as well. So, and that kind of ties in the RentWorks example, in that he was co-brokering fees with other agents in the local market, and now he's found a way to eliminate that entirely and keeping full control in-house. So in my opinion, that's one way that I've seen is some of these co-brokering markets, and how can we keep some of those traditional commissions that we've just assumed were part of the business? How can we start to bring them in-house? And then maybe you find a way to separate them out to your other team members, or reinvest back in the business in additional marketing channels, or just go to Disney World, right, Brad? So, you know, that's what I've seen is more specifically from the sales side, is how can we find a way to not only be efficient and save dollars on some of the manual tasks, but let's eliminate this co-brokering and let's bring these commissions back in-house.
So that brings up the question in my mind about unaccompanied showing. Some people are still like fearful of that. Like they just see that as like incredible liability, or it just couldn't work in their market. Are you, do you guys have any sort of qualification process to figure out whether or not it'd be a good fit in every market? Or are there some markets that unaccompanied showings just won't work?
There probably are some markets that we've run across. Like we're a Virginia-based company in Northern Virginia around DC. It's such a real estate agent heavy environment that it's all in-person showings all the time, and that's kind of a big ship to try to turn. But I mean, San Antonio is another market like that, and Brad's kind of pioneered some self-access there. So what it really takes is a collaboration between a company like us and a company like RentWorks to you know, push the envelope and try something new that traditionally hasn't been accepted. So I think long term there isn't a market where it wouldn't really be an option, but in the short term there's definitely pockets of the country that just haven't really adopted it. And even within our software, I mean, we still see, what were the percentages? Is it
the first year that I was tracking them? Over the course of our entire portfolio, all of our customers, about 15% of properties were used as self-access. We looked at it over the course of the 2017 year, and that doubled.
Yeah.
So the adoption is
to 30%.
Right,
yeah.
To 30%. Yeah.
So it's definitely increasing at a pretty strong clip. But as you said, there's still the majority of people are doing in-person showings, and you know, that's something that our software can support, and something that and I'm sure you in talking to different property managers all across the country, there's just different ways of doing things. So we have some customers who do in-person showings. We have other customers who do key checkouts. We have some people who still have master lock boxes and not even electronic lock boxes to allow for self-access. You know, some of those people have been doing that for 15 years and really don't have any plans on changing. And then of course the electronic lock boxes, that's making more and more progress, because I think when you ask property managers, they don't necessarily want to drive out to all their rentals all the time to be stood up. And so software like Tenant Turner can help alleviate that and make them more efficient and make sure people are actually there. But what we've found is that a lot of our customers, they want to try it. And so what we do is we give them their first lockbox for free, and that gives them a chance to try it. And if they don't like it, nothing lost, right? They get the opportunity to try it. They don't like it, nothing lost, and then they can continue to use Tenant Turner for showings coordination of in-person appointments. They do like it, they get more lock boxes, and they start to deploy them at more and more properties. So it's something that I would think over the next few years, it'll be more and more widely accepted. But inevitably, there's still going to be markets and people who still want to show their rentals.
So, and that's a nice advantage. It sounds like the tools flexible across the board, so people can figure out how they want to do it.
Yep. Exactly.
Cool. All right, guys. So what else do people need to know about Tenant Turner? What's the best stuff, Calvin? Everybody's asking you about.
We've got some really cool stuff coming down the pipe. So if anybody's ever worked in a tech environment before and had a salesperson, you never tell the salesperson what the tech team's building because they just go and run their mouth. I cannot use this forum because he's right beside me. But if you call me, I will tell you what we are working on. It is awesome. And outside of that, we're really focusing on some integrations and partnerships this year. I think there's a consistent theme that you see on the forums, that you see at the conventions, that you just hear people talking about. Why don't these systems talk to each other? Why can't we just log into one? And why do we have to have 7? And Tenant Turner's open. So if you're a vendor, if you're a property manager and you'd like to see 2 systems connect, shoot us a note. Let us know who that may be. We're open to talking to anybody. And I mean, we're going to build a marketplace, and we're going to support the customers that we have now and those that are going to ultimately use Tenant Turner in any way that we can. So I think that's, other than just the growth in general and where we expect to be at the end of the year, I think from some of the technology and functionality perspectives, that's some really cool stuff that I can start to introduce people to that hasn't been done before yet.
Cool. It sounds exciting. I mean, open integration is what everybody's been begging for. Everybody's been begging for some sort of open API. And so it'll be interesting to see which property management software gets on board with having a fully open API first. But I think whoever does, they're going to be pretty exciting to everybody out there because that's what everybody's been asking for. That's one area where the businesses haven't been listening to the clients. And so it'll be interesting to see what comes down the pike there. So awesome, guys. So anything else you feel like anyone should know about Tenant Turner, and how do people get in touch with you?
Calvin at tenantturner.com, tenantturner.com/DoorGrow. Yeah.
Check us out. If you're using anything similar today, come take a look and see what people are talking about on the DoorGrow forum. If nothing else, you'll learn something new and get an opportunity to chat with one of us, and we'll share with you what some of the best practices are, and hopefully you'll realize one of those best practices are Tenant Turner and hop on board.
Awesome. I'm excited to see what you guys do over the next year, and appreciate you guys coming out on the DoorGrow show.
Yeah, cool. Jason, hey, real quick, man, thank you. I see a lot of forums and things online, and I think you've built a great community for people, man. I think you've done a great job. So kudos to you, my man.
Appreciate it. So those of you listening, if you're wondering where that is, you can just go to doorgrowclub.com. It will redirect you to our Facebook group. The engagement's insane. We're approaching getting close to 1,000 members. We only let broker owners in. At least that's what we're trying to only let in. And the engagement in there is like amazing. When you get entrepreneurs together, even if it's an industry like property management that can be challenging and difficult and frustrating at times, the optimism and the helpfulness is just insane. And so the engagement is just through the roof, and it's positive. How many property management related forums are positive? And so there's all kinds of positivity. There's just tons of momentum there, because that's what entrepreneurs are. We're momentum-based beings. So if you are a property management entrepreneur, make sure you get inside our free Facebook group. And yes, we make you apply to get in it so that we can make sure you are the right fit, that you actually are a business owner. So check that out. All right, James, Calvin, appreciate you guys coming out. And wish you guys all the success in the world, and excited to see what you guys do over the next year.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Take it easy.